Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's NBA and WNBA sharp betting breakdown here on the Advantage Sports Betting Podcast. I am your host, Michael Fiddle. We are going to go through Game 3 of OKC at Minnesota, New York at Indiana, and as well as the WNBA games, which also features New York at Indiana and kind of a banger, Liberty at Fever in the WNBA. So this is going to be a fun show. We are going to go really looking into the future. We are not going to spend much time recollecting on what's happened because this is going to be mainly a show, I assume, as we're just going impromptu live Friday night at 11:30 p.m. I should have started 30 minutes later, so it's technically past midnight, so I could have started the show with a good morning, everybody, but it's good evening, and we're going to get through this pretty quickly, focusing on what's coming, because I assume most of people are going to watch this show Saturday and possibly Sunday. If you're watching on Sunday, just use the timestamps below and skip ahead and get yourself towards the Knicks Pacers Game 4 that we have already priced, already bets down in the spread and the total. We will review where these odds open, where the markets moved, where our best bets are placed, and what is still actionable on the card. Anything that we say we have bet has already been released in our WAP chat. You could sign up for that. The link is in the YouTube description of this video feed in the bio and on the audio feed on this podcast description as well. It is $100 to sign up for a month. You get 2 free weeks simply for leaving a review. And if we ever have a losing month, you will get the entire next month completely free. We believe beating the closing line, getting ahead of the market leads to consistent results. It's not really a we believe. It's kind of a black and white if you look at history. And it's living true in our WAP. Last losing month was November, so hoping to keep it up. Let's bring in professional poker player Drew Johnson. Let's share the FanDuel odds screen. Let's start, Drew, right at the top with this OKC Thunder at Minnesota Timberwolves. Rare spot where you get home team down 0-2, as Minnesota's obviously down 0-2 in this series. Yet they are home underdogs. This is saying OKC is definitely way better than this team. This might not be desperation. This might not be back against the wall and going to rally. This might be a sign of defeat for the Minnesota Timberwolves, a total at 218. Where do you lean or have action for this game? I'm sorry I used the word lean.
I have action already on Oklahoma City now at this -2.5 number. Obviously, this is going against some of the movement, as I think Oklahoma City opened a little longer than this at like 4.5 some places, 4 at other spots. Obviously, typically, you would want to back the home team that's down 0-2 in this spot. But based on how the Thunder have played and how they've looked over the last 2 games, and even in the last series towards the end, how they took care of the Nuggets as emphatic a fashion as they did in that final Game 7. I think this is a juggernaut. I think this is the team that's going to win the championship. I know we have action on them to win the championship as a future, and I expect them to win again. I think Minnesota is probably going to get 1 game in this series, just because the Thunder will have an off shooting night from enough people where they won't have just quite enough firepower. But I think that's going to be Game 4. I think the Thunder are aware of who they are and what they have to do to get to the finals and get to the promised land. And I think we're going to see it in Game 3.
Yeah, it's all downhill from the Thunder for here. What I heard an amazing description for the Thunder team. Like, we know the term Cavalanche when the Cavs have their like amazing runs, or used to have their amazing runs because now they are ousted. But the inevitable, when the Thunder come, the lightning bolt is near. And so they have that blitz, that third quarter run, seemingly always in them. That's what great teams do, right? Great teams just don't dominate you for 48 minutes. These teams can play each other tight. And then there's a few spurts where that team just explodes and it's just unstoppable for a few minutes. And that's what we're seeing with the OKC Thunder. The reason why I said that horrible, heinous, fucking shit ass curse word, the only curse word that I've used thus far was lean. And the reason why I hate that word, for any new listeners, if you've been around, you know, that's an illegal term around here. So 20-second timeout for me. Sorry about that. Is because in this whole content space, you could say I lean this way and then come back the next time and say, thank God it was just a lean if it lost. Or you could say, I knew it all along. That's why I gave it out as a lean. The reason why I actually said the word lean here is because I haven't placed my bet yet. But if we get to tip off and this is minus 2.5, yes, I am going to. Drew said the market has come down from minus 4.5 at Thunders at opens to minus 2.5. There is some Wolves sentiment here, but this is going to be a wait for the resistance point and play it back with OKC. So whether that's 2.5, whether that's minus 3, it's not the way I lean. It's the way that I am inevitably going to place a bet. So I haven't placed my action yet. Drew got his down at the 2.5. I don't think this is realistically going to 2. So it's probably the right thing to grab it at 2.5. The only thing that's been holding me back on that, Drew, is there's that minus 2.5, minus 105 on the Thunder side at Circa. And so seeing the minus 105 VIG at Circa has been like, okay, maybe do I wait for a minus 105 to pop up somewhere for me? Maybe does it get to 2? Realistically, I don't think so. I think that one starts coming the other way as well. Total 218 in this game. It's probably at the point where you'd want to look towards the under. We've seen these games open at 212-ish, 213-ish, and be bet up to between 219 and 217. Game 1 ended at 219, went under. Game 2 ended at 217, went over. So meeting in the middle of that 218 makes perfect sense. One under, one over at the consensus closes. I just think it's probably an under spot as teams get to know each other. You know your defensive assignments a little bit better. I expect the Wolves bring a little bit better defensive intensity. I expect the Thunder role players to shoot a little bit worse on the road. So definitely looking at it under, looking at OKC on that side. But the lightning bolt is sure to be there. Let's go to Knicks Pacers, Drew. We just watched the Pacers take the game 2 on the Knicks. So now Knicks are the road team down 0-2. And this market has seen action kind of both ways, side and total already, and the game ended 30 minutes ago. The universal line opens for this game was Pacers minus 1.5. And to be honest, yeah, it probably shouldn't have been Pacers minus 1.5. They probably should have been slightly longer of a favorite, and then it climbed out to 2.5. But when it got to 2.5, which is what I think is the most notable change, those were swept off the board pretty quickly, Drew. So I think this is a Knicks spot. I feel like an asshole saying it. I don't feel like an asshole saying it. I feel like people are just going to come at me being a Pacers hater. I had no action on game 2. I was actually wanting the Pacers, but because the Knicks had the desperation angle, I was just scared to play it. Now Knicks desperation angle for game 3, I am willing to play. How are you seeing game 3 for Knicks Pacers?
Yeah, I'm really surprised that the Pacers were able to get, and I think everybody was as surprised as I was, especially in game 1. But getting 2 on the road in MSG in the fashion that they did, and look, tonight it looked like the Knicks were playing with that desperation for the first 20 minutes or so, and then the Pacers finally sort of put it together with their role players, and they were kept in the game by Pascal Siakam. And I do think that the Knicks are going to string together a full game at some point, and with that desperation angle now, they cannot go down 3-0 on the road. It's
Right.
that would be the end of this series, period. I do think that their leadership, both on the bench and in the game through Brunson, specifically, probably won't let that happen without fighting tooth and nail. And I think if the Pacers win this, it will be by 1 or 2.
Yep, they're like that game 1 the Knicks they had it in their grasp.
Yeah,
They've
they
had
really
moments in
did.
this one seemed like Pacers kind of the whole time. There were a few moments where the Knicks fought back and clawed back, but it felt like this was the Pacers spot. But the Knicks team thinks that they can still win this. I would imagine the Minnesota team is trying to convince themselves they could still win it, but like deep down, like give them some truth serum. They know what's coming, right? So total in this game it seems to be an underplay, and it's definitely worth playing right now. I think that one is a universal, like we could all agree this is going to be an under spot for game 3. This game is going to slow down a little bit and to a New York tempo as they really operate in the half court and try and slow Indiana down to be a half court. They're going to have to be better in New York in transition a little bit, not let Indiana get as many of those hit aheads that, like, that's what Halliburton, that's what Siakam, Obi Toppin, those hit aheads is what they thrive on. Neesmith is fantastic at them as well. But I do believe that this is going to be an under spot. I believe this game is going to close around 222. So 224 right now is the last one at DraftKings. It's open 224.5. First board that showed up was DraftKings, MGM, Caesars, Bet365. They all had 224.5. They are all gone. 224 remains at DraftKings. I believe the 223.5s are also playable towards the under. Under would be the strongest grab. Knicks money line are also grabs for me personally. I would understand the people who are like, at this point, I just think the Pacers are better, and now they're going back home. Sure. If that's your opinion, I would honestly just be a little bit wary of Pacers in game 3, and maybe this being the one where you skip, right? Because, Drew, I was backing Knicks in this series, like, at the start and just skipped game 2, right? So I'll come back on game 3, but I would caution Pacers backers just to skip game 3. They lost game 3 against the Bucks. They were up 2-0. They lost game 3. They were up 2-0 against the Cavs. They lost game 3. They're up 2-0 against the Knicks. I would be cautious for this Pacers game going back home. Let's go over to the W. Anything else you want to add in for NBA stuff, Drew?
Just that this Pacers team definitely is a trends team over the course of this entire season. As they were trending in one direction, they definitely kept doing so, whichever direction that was. If you remember at the beginning of the season, they were trending downwards. They continued that trend for quite a while. And then throughout the later stages of the season, they trended upwards. I think that you can look at that trend angle that you were just going after there and losing game 3. And that's why I'm willing to back the Knicks again, even though I've backed them twice already.
Line. Like I saw,
absolutely.
Plus 110, like play some money line on that as well. Split up your exposure half and half, 75, 25. Definitely have some money line exposure in there on the Knicks if you do agree with Drew and I and want to follow. Drew, I just switched the board over to the WNBA screen, but I don't know if you could tell I just started going up and down from here. Well, now I could do it. It feels good. I'm sweating Storm -3 right now.
So
2 minutes left. It was just tied 70-70, and I just kept going like this on the screen, up, down, up. I was like, do I want it to be on the screen? No, I don't want to see it. I want to focus. All right, what are they doing? All right, I want to focus.
No.
Let's keep it on the screen. But we'll talk about the New York Liberty at the Indiana Fever. So a huge New York at Indiana game on Saturday. A huge New York at Indiana game on Sunday. Why do you think we put Brunson and Sabrina on the JPEG, on the thumbnail that shows up when you click this video on YouTube? Subscribe to the YouTube. Is because we think the Indiana Fever are going to lose this game because the New York Liberty might be the best WNBA team I've ever seen this year. Champions last year. Bring in Natasha Cloud. She's been fantastic for the Liberty already. The way that they've got rid of what was her name? Vandersloot. I felt like it was addition by subtraction right there, getting more minutes for Phoebish. This team is rolling already, so I'm all over the Liberty. I feel like I'm kicking myself not playing over on their already really high win total preseason. But Drew, this is one of the best WNBA teams I've ever seen. I'll speak to the Fever in a little bit, but line opened 1.5, moved to 2.5. And something that I think I'll do a lot in the W as a way to get more action down on these lines and understand that these lines are going to move a lot is I'm going to play lines multiple times. So in the NBA, I feel comfortable just getting my action down on +2, right? But in the W, it's like I'm going to hit it at -1.5. I'm going to hit it again at -2.5. It is a smaller market. Some of the limits are smaller. You want to worry about your account health in certain scenarios. So I'm looking more Liberty again. I mean, 3.5 is starting to get pricey. We'll get your opinion. But this is a Liberty spot for me.
Yeah, I don't think that the Fever have enough size to deal with the Liberty. I think the Fever have the advantage on the perimeter, but when it comes down to it, size is what matters in basketball more often than not, and specifically in the W. I think because the players are a little less skillful than in the NBA, that those physical advantages actually play a larger role in this league. And that is why I want to back the Liberty in this spot. I also want to back them because they're a veteran team who know each other. Uh, the Indiana Fever do not have that kind of chemistry yet. We've seen literally nothing from Dewana Bonner so far playing for that squad right now. I think she had a game where she literally had almost no stats, which considering she's the third leading scorer in the history of the W.
And fifth most rebounds in the W now.
Yeah, like what is happening? So they haven't really carved out her role in Indiana yet. And even Caitlin hasn't quite looked like she's comfortable finding her people in their spots. There's been some miscommunication, all of that kind of stuff. The Liberty have zero of those problems. They are a machine that's just rolling, and they've also played one less game. So I truly think that this is kind of going to be a blowout spot. I would still consider playing it at the 3.5 if you can get the -110. I expect this to probably close around 5.
Wow. Yeah, I in complete agreement with you. Not only is Bonner a new piece, like there are so many new pieces in Indiana, including the coach. Like Stephanie White is a new coach. It's kind of a new system there. It's White learning Clark. It's Clark learning White. It's Clark learning Bonner. It's Sophie Cunningham only played one of the games as she's like been in and out of the lineup a little bit, and she's going to be a big piece. Lexi Hull's shot is kind of broken, and it's like, is she going to be playing more minutes or less minutes? Her role is really fluctuating. So it's been tough sledding for the Fever. And they also, not tough sledding, but like they haven't looked as sharp. And I think that's the reason, Drew, you played Indiana Fever futures in the championship. You didn't bother with win total overs.
No.
You said this team's going to take the regular season to gel and then be a playoff threat, right? So it's more so let's wait for the playoffs when this team has time to play together. Early season is a time to fade the Fever. And the last point I want to throw on that is national TV games for the Fever. 41 out of 44 of the Fever games are on national TV, Drew. Every team that goes against the Fever, this is like Lakers, this is like Knicks, this is like Cowboys, this is like if the opposing team goes into and plays in the spotlight, this is their time to have a moment. So you are going to get some intense efforts from the opposing teams being on the spotlight game and being in those spots. So I think it's going to take the Fever a little bit to get there, and I think this is going to be a tough Liberty spot. Let's also speak to the total. Forget the number that I played it at, but I do think it's slightly behind the market as of now, but I really do still like it. Played the under at 170.5, so it's gone up 1 point. So not surprising to see some Fever games move towards the over, but Drew, 1 p.m. Eastern start for this game. The day game under trend. The kind of perimeter defense and rebounding that the Liberty have, that like adding Cloud to throw some length at Caitlin. I just think this is a day game under type of spot. So we'll play the under as well, thinking that the Liberty lean on their defense in this one.
You said the word again, but in good context.
Oh, I actually already bet this one though. So
no, I know. You didn't
not in betting context. I will lean on. Yeah. Oh, true. Not in a betting context.
Yeah, I do day game unders, especially day game Saturday games specifically. And the other thing is, if you're a WNBA star hanging out in Indianapolis this weekend, what's going on in Indianapolis this weekend? A bunch of stuff.
Indy 500 too.
Indy 500. We've got
it's a crazy weekend there.
Yeah, they're having an absolute crazy weekend.
Do you think they did that on purpose, or do you think they did that?
Well, they couldn't have possibly done it on purpose with the fact that the Knicks and the Pacers both made the conference finals.
Right. Okay, exactly.
So,
You want to
like,
hear a crazy stat that I heard? What
sure.
percent of the American population do you think is going to be in Indianapolis this weekend? Because the Indy 500 is one of the biggest sporting events in the country. What percentage of the entire United States population?
Oh, wow. 2.5?
11%.
What?
I was equally shocked.
That's
Jaw to the
insanity.
floor when I heard that. Now, I don't know if that's true. I heard that somewhere.
Yeah.
So I'm reciting that without digging into the sources. But yeah, nice to see Storm be 77-70. Hell yes.
That can't
Way
be
to close that game.
possible. I don't think you could put 30 million people up in Indianapolis.
Indy's a huge convention city. Like they have a lot of massive conferences, and like that's really what they're known for.
Yeah, interesting. They can house 30 million people. That's insanity.
It's crazy. Yeah, I'd wonder if you checked like hotel prices
like that's a real
this weekend in Indy versus like New York City. It's probably comparable, right? Okay, let's go to Dream and Dallas Wings. Dallas Wings featuring Paige Buckets. Atlanta Dream featuring Alicia Gray, and the double big lineup. I hate it, Drew. Brianna Jones, Brittany Griner. Griner says she wants to be on the 2028 Olympic team in LA. She's
good luck.
She fucking sucks now. I mean, she doesn't. That was too harsh. She just sucks now.
She. Who do I want to compare her to? Like, is she better than Tina Charles?
She's like Brooke Lopez right now.
Yeah, Brooke Lopez who can't shoot.
Exactly. It's just so slow and prodding, and she's not her length on defense. She now gets beat by the speed. I mean, she
can't recover using
Ian
length
said
anymore.
Brick Lopez in the comments. That is unbelievable. But yeah, there's been absolutely no movement, and this is one that's been priced for a while. Been priced since the New York Liberty opened at minus 1.5 and a time to move out to 3.5, 5.5 the whole time. Wings at the Dream. Dream the favorite, 168.5 in the total. There's been no movement. I don't really have much of an opinion here. You know, one thing that I don't think I've said on this show, I know I've said it on Action and Buckets podcast, but we're going to start originating and coming to WNBA model lines by week 2. It is too hard to do that right now with the amount of changes for these teams. Like, you could come to a number, but like I prefer and I will rely on market angles over model for like in general always, but certainly at the beginning of these seasons, right? Like there was also so much player movement. I mean, the Mercury at the top of the screen right now brought in Alyssa Thomas and Satu Sabli and lost Tarasi and Griner. So probably like massive changes across the board. Fever, we just talked about all those changes. We're not going to say we're going to rely more on the market read now. And so without any of these lines moving and without even generating a model number yet for it, it's just like there's really no angle for me in this game yet, Drew.
If anything, I want to look towards the Wings just because for the reasons you just said, their speed at guard is going to be a problem for this team. And I don't think Atlanta is as good as people like. Their one win came against a Fever team that didn't particularly shoot well, hasn't particularly gelled well in their second game of the season after a letdown from a big first game where they looked really good, to be honest with you, other than like the little miscues that they had here and there. I don't think this Atlanta team is as good as people, or at least as the market is telling us so far. So I'm inclined to go for Dallas. I do think I'm going to wait for the time being and see if this does take any movement either way. But getting ahead of that -5 or that 5 key number is kind of nice in my opinion. And seeing as this hasn't moved at all, considering that the Dream would definitely be considered a larger favorite at this point in the season, I'm surprised by that. And I'm wondering if sharp money is keeping it where it is.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was looking Wings and Wings money line at that.
Yeah, right? Like they've got to win a game at some point, and if there's a matchup advantage that goes the other way. We're actually seeing a bit of that tonight with
It's
Washington, Las Vegas, right?
right. Mystics are fast too, and they're
Yeah.
using that. And it's
They're
not even
spacing
like
with
page
Dolson.
buckets, right? Like you also have Agumbawale there, probably like the scoring punch, and also Dejanay Carrington, that speedy defensive guard from the Connecticut Sun last year, is now on the Dallas Wings. So like they really thrive with speed. Even Maisha Hines-Allen at like a bigger wing just plays really fast too. So yeah, I think it's Wings and Wings money line maybe.
Yeah,
But
like that,
the apple.
Let's wait probably until tomorrow morning and see where this ends up, or try to keep an eye. Like I've had a couple of coffees. I've been watching all these games all night. I'm hyped. Yeah, so I'm going to be up a bit later, and we'll keep an eye on this one. So hopefully, if we do find an angle, or if we do actually action this angle, we'll have that in the WAP for all the people out there later in the evening. I will say also,
go ahead.
The guards, because of the three of them, it will be relentless speed. Like Brittany Griner might be played off the floor in this game. It could happen. The
total being 168.5, and also Atlanta playing the double big lineup. Like that's a relatively high total. I mean, look over at Liberty Fever, 171.5, with the Fever being the fastest team and Liberty being the champions with, plenty of offensive weapons. So this is a high pace
too. It's
the total.
Yeah, it was
169 start to show. Exactly.
Yeah. So if that's going and the spread isn't moving,
right? Dream. I mean, Wings.
Interesting. Definitely some spots to keep your eyes on.
Should I say it? Should I say it?
Yeah, I should probably say it.
One could say we lean Wings. Oh God. Oh no.
It sounded gross.
Mystics and Aces are going to overtime right now. 300 people joined us for the live stream. Drop a like on the YouTube channel. Hit the like button on the Twitter. Retweet the stream if you would be so kind. We're going to be back on Monday, even though it's Memorial Day. Holidays are prime sports days. There's no off days for the holidays. We're off on our random Wednesday. So I will be live Monday for sure at our normal time, breaking down game 4s. I think the venue changes, like normally with these game 3s, it's not something we overly talked about because it's true. They were priced correctly. The venue changed from OKC back to Minnesota, New York back to Indiana was the perfect transition. So it wasn't really something to sink your teeth into like it was in rounds 1 and 2. These books are learning a little bit as we go through these playoffs. Like it gets sharper and sharper. So I will say, despite these games being really big for the Pacers, the Knicks, the Thunder, the Wolves, they don't need to be big for your bankroll. And there's an old trope that bigger edges can be found in smaller markets. And so let's look towards W. Let's get into the smaller market. Let's grab Liberty -1.5, -2.5, and now see it at 3.5 and still probably climbing, right? Let's grab these spots and let's, beat up the smaller market with bigger edges, especially since we're wrapping up the NBA season. And there's just so much data to make these lines so sharp. Thank you to Ian in the back. Thank you to Drew for joining me. Thank you for everyone for tuning in. See you on Monday. Some words from Patrick Beverly as we say peace out.
Y'all subscribe to my podcast while y'all asking all these questions. Don't forget to subscribe to the pod. And if you're a kid, listen to your parents. Listen to your parents.
Listen to your parents.
Subscribe to the pod. Subscribe. Subscribe to the pod. Subscribe to the pod.